Chapter 3. The Secret. I was sure Jam was wrong. Mum and Dad are interfering, and annoying, and old. But there's no way they could have done anything as illegal and wrong as kidnapping a little girl. Still, when someone plants an idea in your head, it stays there. You can't unthink it. Was I Martha Lauren Purdett? I thought about it all the time. I kept the missing poster Jam had printed out under my mattress. I took it out every night and read it over and over until I knew every line on that little girl's face, every date and detail about her life. Not that there was much to go on. Several times I picked up the phone to call the number at the bottom of the poster, but I never had the guts to make the call. What was I going to say? "Hi there, I think I might be a missing girl on your website. Only with a different birthday. A different first name. Oh, and from a different country." They'd laugh at me. So would the police. A week went past. Jam swore he wouldn't tell anyone. It was our secret. But it burned inside me like one of those trick birthday candles you can't blow out. And then, by accident, I learned something that changed everything forever. Dad has a bit of a routine when he gets in from work. He doesn't like anyone to speak to him while he changes and pours himself a drink. Then he and Mum have dinner before Dad falls asleep watching TV. They're always nagging at me to eat with them. Mostly it's the last thing I want to do, but it shuts Mum up and it massively annoys Rory, who has to go to bed before we eat. That night, Rory appeared in the doorway just as Mum was putting a big casserole dish down on the table. "Mom, I'm still hungry," he whined. Dad rolled his eyes. He gets well narked with Rory's attention-seeking ways. I could see him building up to saying something. He doesn't exactly operate at speed of light, my dad. But Mum, so strict when it comes to my bedtimes, had already taken Rory's side. "I can't let him go to sleep hungry, Dave." And before Dad could say anything, she'd grabbed the fruit bowl and was shushing Rory out the door. Dad stared at the casserole dish as if he was hoping the stew inside would somehow leap out onto his plate. "She spoils that boy," he muttered under his breath. I grinned to myself. Dad's the supreme master of the blindingly obvious comment. He's an accountant, good with maths homework, but a bit slow when it comes to words, which is what made the next sentence so jaw-droppingly, outstandingly incredible. "Mum tells me you were asking about when you were little," he said. I nearly choked on the slice of bread and butter I'd been stuffing into my mouth. "Well," Dad had his serious face on, not an easy one for him to pull off, as he's short and bald with round pink cheeks. I could feel the heat creeping up around my neck. I looked away and nodded. Dad cleared his throat. "I think," he said. Long pause. "Come on, Dad, before we both die of old age, please. I think that if you're old enough to ask..." At that moment, Mum reappeared. She took one look at my red face and I knew she knew what was going on. "Old enough to ask what?" she said. Dad mumbled something totally incoherent. Mum put her hands on her hips. "I thought we agreed, Dave," she said in a threatening voice. The atmosphere in the room stretched out tight like a Croydon facelift. I pushed back my chair and stood up, my hands balled at my sides. If she was going to stop Dad from talking to me, she could forget about me eating her stupid stew. "Sit down, Lauren," Mum snapped. Anger surged up from my stomach. "No," I shouted. "Who put you in charge? Why do you always think you know what's best for everyone else?" Mum's face clenched up. "Sit down and eat, now." Tears of rage and frustration welled in my eyes. How dare she order me about like a little kid? "I won't sit down," I shouted. "You can't tell me what to do. You're not even my real mother." I ran out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind me. Tears streamed down my face as I raced through the hall, heading for the stairs and the small privacy of my own room. Rory was sitting on the top step, munching on an apple. "Why is everyone shouting?" he said. I stopped just below him and took a deep breath. My hands shook as I wiped my face. "Get out of my way," I muttered. "Want to see a Martian train wreck?" Rory opened his mouth and stuck out his tongue full of pale green mush. I closed my eyes. What had I done to deserve such an uncool family? I bet Martha Law and Perdit's family weren't like this. I could just imagine them. Understanding, glamorous mother, sensitive, fun-loving father, and not a brother or sister in sight. The sound of Mum and Dad's angry voices drifted towards the stairs. Rory shuffled down a couple of steps towards me. "Are Mum and Dad going to get a divorce?" he said. "Yeah," I snapped. "They're arguing over which one of them has to live with you afterwards." Rory stuck his tongue out at me again, but didn't say anything. A few seconds later, he stomped off to his room. The shouting was getting louder, Mum's high-pitched shriek piercing through Dad's thundering rumble. And then I heard my own name. I walked back across the hall, trying to separate out what they were saying. "Stop shouting," Mum was yelling. "This is your fault. You promised me." "For Christ's sake," Dad yelled back. "I'm only saying we can't ignore her asking about it." I'd never heard him sound so angry. I mean, they bicker all the time, but mostly about trivial stuff, like Dad working too hard. This was different. I shivered and crept closer to the kitchen door. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Mum spoke again. Her voice was quieter now, almost pleading. "She's too young. Her head's still full of homework and pop songs." "Yeah, right, Mum. You know me so well." "Then why is she so angry? Why has she been asking questions?" Dad said. "Some stupid school project got her started, but she'll lose interest." There was a pause. "You mean you hope she'll lose interest?" There was a longer pause. Then I could hear Mum sniffing. Her voice sounded muffled. "If we tell her one thing, she'll want to hear the rest." Dad muttered something I couldn't catch. "I know, but not now," Mum said. "When she's 16, I'll show her my diaries. That'll put it all in context for her." I heard footsteps coming towards the door, and I scurried away, up the stairs. My heart was beating fast. So much for all Mum's closed adoption crap. They did know something about my life before they got me. My stomach twisted into a knot. What could it be that was so terrible they didn't think I could handle yet? Could it have anything to do with Martha Law and Perdit? I lay on my bed, sure of only one thing. There was no way I could wait until I was 16 to read Mum's diaries.